Looking for your next home on the east side of Madison? Welcome to the Canopy Collective, a vibrant community proudly managed by Focus. Choose from spacious 1, 2, or 3-bedroom apartments that offer comfort, style, and plenty of room for your pets to feel at home too. You'll enjoy world-class amenities like pools, dog parks, playgrounds, and more. Everything you need right where you live. Focus is on a mission to elevate the resident experience in every community they serve. Discover the Focus difference and find your dream apartment today at rentwithfocus.com. Want to save yourself some time and money? Order your next meal from Eat Street. Eat Street was founded right here in Madison and still operates locally today. They're focused on local. Most of their orders, 85%, go to family-run restaurants. And starting in April, you can earn Eat Street cash back on every order. Get 15% off your next Madison order with the code CITYCAST. That's one word, not case sensitive, through April 30th. Today on CityCast Madison. We are one day out from Election Day, and the biggest story in the most watched election is big money. Of course, we're talking about the state Supreme Court race between Judges Susan Crawford and Brad Schimel. Wisconsin has once again made history for record campaign spending, surpassing our past record by tens of millions of dollars. So, what does this level of spending mean for our elections, their future, and the power of the average voter? We asked the executive director of Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, Nick Ramos, to break it down. It's Monday, March 31st. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Nick, welcome to CityCast Madison.
Oh, Bianca, it is a treat. First time caller, long time listener. So happy to be here with you.
I'd love to hear that. We're so happy to have you. And on such a friggin' timely topic, election season. It's been an expensive one. My goodness gracious, especially the race for the open seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. You all at the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign project that this spending will surpass $100 million. That's nearly double the amount spent the last time voters elected a Supreme Court justice. Nick, why has so much money been pouring into this race?
I think that's the potentially $100 million question. We're coming off the heels of a very contentious presidential election, and the biggest race in the country right now to test where exactly the country is mood-wise off of that presidential election is going to be our Wisconsin Supreme Court race. And as you correctly stated, should we hit $100 million as far as all-out campaign spending, it would be double what we ended up seeing in 2023 during the Janet Protasewicz-Dan Kelly race. And so far, when you think about the outside spending, we're at 52 groups reporting at about $47.5 million so far. And for context, in 2023, there were 48 groups at this point in time, and there was only about $19.3 million spent. And so we're seeing a 146% increase in comparison to 2023. And so it's a mixed bag of folks, millionaires and billionaires, trying to be able to put their thumb on the scale to see if they can go win a race for a seat that will land one of these candidates 10 years on the Supreme Court. And this Supreme Court is going to make some really big decisions that are going to impact Wisconsinites' lives. And I think that the nation is now looking to see, are we witnessing a red wave? Are we witnessing the beginning of a blue wave? And so you see so much outside spending and interest in this particular election.
That is an insane stat, that percentage of a jump. Holy smokes. It's just for us normal folks. It's like I can't even comprehend that much money. It's just insane.
And real quick to that, I mean, I just want you and others to know that, it's methodical, this type of spending. Like, people that have this amount of wealth, they want to be able to jam it down your throat and make you think that you do not have agency in this process. But, I like to remind people money does a lot of things, but it can't vote. And while we still have a democracy here in Wisconsin, your voice is your power. And while I'm sure people are tired of digital ads and direct mail pieces and just being constantly 24/7 flooded with all types of political advertisement, I would just say that there's a reason why Wisconsin's always, the center of the universe. And I would say that our races are always super close, and it is a good litmus test and a good bellwether for other parts of the country. And so don't give up. Be resilient. I know that's easy for me to say, but I know people are tired, but at this point, I can feel the energy in these rooms and in these parts of the state, and people are fired up and want to be involved because they do not want to be silenced and have their voices not be heard.
Well, I really appreciate you emphasizing that point that money isn't everything. It's a lot. I want to quote Kendrick Lamar. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Ooh, don't go there. I'm a big Drake fan. I don't want to hear that.
Oh, well, everything's heated. Everything's heated these days. All of our voices matter here in this debate, on the debate related to the Supreme Court candidates and the Drake and Kendrick battle. Let's get back to the candidates here. So let's dig into where the money is coming from and focus on direct campaign donations first. Can we talk about how the candidates stack up for direct campaign donations?
So Crawford right now, as of today, has raised $17.3 million. And then Schimmel has raised about $7.3 million. And in 2023, just to give some context, around just the complete election cycle and the money that got raised, it was only $20.4 million. And then comparing that to right now, we're literally looking at just Crawford alone almost beating that number. And in 2023, if people can recognize and remember, we had a primary. There were two other candidates that didn't make it to the general election, but we got to count their money into this overall bucket. But now we're sitting here and we're just looking at just two candidates that are trying to do everything they can to beat each other. But just a little bit more context as far as numbers. We're looking at with just some of that 47.5 million that I talked about from outside spending, 31 million of it, just a little bit more than 31 million, is all about advertisement and money being spent on pro-Schimmel / anti-Crawford ads. So buckle up, guys, because we've watched Elon Musk's PACs and organization Building America's Future be able to spend millions of dollars. They're going to continue doing that. And there's going to be a fast array of late money that will drop. And when the dust settles, I think it's very easy to say that we will most likely hit 100, if not over $100 million.
Yeah, and I think that, folks are pointing out about Elon Musk's spending is that he's an individual. He's given, as of this moment, and it'll probably change by the time folks hear this, over $20 million, which, is that unique? Is that unprecedented?
Yeah, I think the ways in which he is impacting this race by spreading the money around. You look at America PAC and the $100 petition that they're doing for Wisconsinites, which is silly, and by golly, it feels like the law is being broken with this thing.
Can we talk about that? Yeah, that Elon Musk offered Wisconsin voters $100 to sign a petition in opposition to, quote, activist judges. I've never heard about that happening before.
Well, we got a little taste of it last year as far as this whole $100, sign a petition, you'll get a check from America PAC. And now
out in Pennsylvania, or did that happen here in Wisconsin at all?
No, yeah, not here. Oh, okay. This is our first time experiencing it here. But during the presidential, we got to witness it at least happen once, and yes, in Pennsylvania. And so now we get to watch, and again, I think it's just kind of comedy at this point. where there is a part that is supporting Brad Schimmel, but they say there's no direct coordination going on. And then go ahead and say, well, this isn't like bribery, or this shouldn't be any cause for concern, because we're not explicitly saying vote for this candidate or vote for that candidate. We're saying, you know what, we want people that are registered Wisconsin voters to sign a petition and say they are against activist judges. But it's just comedy, because a lot of the messaging that I've witnessed happen from, I believe, America's PAC and, some of these other outfits, it is very explicitly called Susan Crawford an activist judge. So it's like common sense would lead you to believe, okay, maybe they're not saying the quiet part out loud with this petition, but they've shown you a roadmap of all the times that they've been calling out a particular candidate and saying they're an activist judge. Don't you think that it kind of all like feels a little too comfortable, that like they aren't connected by any chance? And so I just want people to recognize this. Like, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to be able to push back on this. For my smell test, I mean, it doesn't smell very kosher. And I think that like we as a society can't try and do these kinds of underhanded things to try and win elections. Like, it's one thing when you're trying to, in a very nonpartisan way, engage people to participate in this process. It's another thing when you're loosey-goosey about the facts and then continue to peddle some information that is very advantageous to one candidate but isn't to the other, and then you want to step back and say, well, but we're still following the rules. It's like people already don't trust like the process because of some of the mis and disinformation that's happening, and also some of the bad actors that exist in this space. And so it's like we need to be more forthcoming and doing a better job of, when we say we're being nonpartisan, actually mean that, and like not try and just gin up a base to win an election and do it by incentivizing people with money and cash.
And it seems like people possibly flirting with the line and then crossing it even at this point. I wouldn't think paying people to vote is the most democratic thing. That's me. I do want to ask, is the Wisconsin Supreme Court open seat going to go to the highest bidder?
Wow. I mean, that's the one thing I lay awake at night and I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if we're at a point in time where people really have had enough. And I think we're going to learn a lot on Tuesday, April 1st, because no question the money has an impact. And I don't know what you're streaming or watching these days, Bianca, but on my side, I feel like every time I turn on the television, I am being inundated with political ads. And I know that we just got done in November with a really big election, and then Wisconsinites now have to be thinking about another big election. It's like we can't just get out of this Groundhog Day movie that we're in, as far as just always having to deal with these high stakes elections. And so I would just say I'm hopeful that people will recognize the moment. I hope that we see the highest voter turnout in an April spring election that we've ever experienced. And my hope is that people will show that our democracy is still strong here and will turn out in droves to showcase the fact that, look, the money is all great and stuff, but really investing in people and the grassroots movement, that's what it's all about. And win, lose, or draw, whoever takes the seat, like, my hope is that they don't end up doing what I think a lot of people think when you have someone that's a real big benefactor that spends a lot of money on a seat or a race or a project. Like, you would think that, like, well, they will do the bidding of whoever helped them get in the office. And I just want people, especially that sit on our Supreme Court, to be fair and impartial and actually apply the facts to the case and read the law and make a ruling on it, versus like trying to just do your best tap dance for whoever ended up helping you win an election. So I think we're going to find out, but I think people are going to show up and they're going to show their voice in this.
We're talking with Wisconsin Democracy Campaign Executive Director Nick Ramos about campaign spending in this spring election. We're going to get deeper into the receipts in just a minute and what we're seeing, but first, let's take a quick break. Behold the wonders of science. Y'all, it's that glorious time of year for UW-Madison Science Expeditions, a UW campus-wide science open house. Yup, they're opening the doors to the science labs and research centers to you and your family for free. From April 4th through the 6th, you can adventure around your top-tier public land-grant university and talk with the world-class researchers, enjoy science demos, and get hands-on at interactive exploration stations. The variety of programs is amazing. You can learn about everything from the human lung to the science behind ice cream. You can even visit monkeys in the Primate Center. Again, UW-Madison Science Expeditions events are free and open to everyone. So, see you at the destinations for exploration on campus April 4th through the 6th. Find the full schedule at go.wisc.edu/science expeditions.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
We were just talking about spending in the Supreme Court race, but there's going to be another seat open next year as Justice Rebecca Bradley will be up for re-election. The real stakes of that race will be determined by who wins this race. If Crawford wins, liberal-leaning justices would hold the majority, and if Schimmel wins, conservative-leaning judges will be the majority. If Schimmel wins, the ideological leaning of the court will once again be on the ballot in spring 2026. Do you think that race will have the same kinds of spending levels? Is there anything to stop this gravy train that's coming, that's been all around our election?
Ooh, wow. Really asking me the hard-hitting questions here. I would say it depends. And I'm sorry to give you such a lawyer answer, but it depends. I think you started to really illustrate what is at stake now and what can potentially be at stake next year. I think should Crawford win this race means that ideological balance of the court stays progressive for at least 2 years. And then after that, we have an election for Supreme Court every year until 2030. So buckle up, gang. But should Crawford win, it means, Democrats in this state get to watch a candidate take the Supreme Court, and it'll be a 4-3 split until 28. And so if Schimmel wins, then guess what? I mean, we're in the same situation that we are in this year. The ideological balance of the court will be on the ballot yet again. And without any real substantive campaign finance reform in this state, I'll be back on this show and I'll tell you that we'll be looking at $125, $150 million spending if it gets to that.
You expect we're going to keep breaking records?
Yes, except here's where I'm hopeful. I mean, so Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, we turned 30 this year, very exciting. And in this 30th year, we have been thinking long and hard about this issue about money in politics. And the fact that 7 out of 10 people nationwide think that money in politics is a problem. And this really is kind of one of those moments in history where you're getting to watch what a lot of people are arguing and saying is an oligarchy forming at the national level. So people getting to watch the richest, most wealthy, influential people getting the coziest seats near the president and the federal administration. And then you get to watch the nauseating money that's being spent in this race. And I feel like it's so much in people's faces right now that we have a real opportunity to do some serious coalition building and some grassroots work to be able to really get our lawmakers fully vested in doing some serious campaign finance reform and entertaining things like better transparency, better disclosures, public campaign financing. I mean, we had it for 2 years in this state until it was gutted. And like, it would be really nice, especially because we had our previous system that focused on Supreme Court races. Like, it would have been so nice to have that mechanism in place, because it would have dissuaded so many of these really big dollar corporations and people, and like incentivize local and like small dollar donations and like actual in-state money. Like, isn't that kind of, what our elections are supposed to be about? The people getting to decide their own destiny versus these outside forces trying to come in, paratrooper in and say, you know what, forget all that. Like, I got bigger fish to fry. Like, we want these seats and we don't care who these races impact. So like, we think that there's a real opportunity to advance some serious substantive campaign finance reform in this state. And I think that we get to have a real good conversation after this election, because yet again, we're breaking records, and I don't think people want to be glorified telemarketers for the rest of their life when they're public servants. And like, this is best and good for everybody, not just Democrats, not just Republicans, everybody. So like, we need to get our arms around it. And like, the 2015 campaign finance reform rewrite that Governor Walker insisted upon and made a reality, like, if we continue to have this be the system, we're cooked. Like, it's going to continue to be hundreds of millions of dollars. And guess what? Forget about having any semblance of like your personal life, because you're going to get to see political ads and all this stuff year round if we keep this up.
Well, you clearly followed campaign finance and the election so closely. What surprised you most in what you've seen so far in this election?
Honestly, I'm surprised that there are so many people that are actually involved right now. And what I mean by that is that you're watching early vote numbers surge. You're watching literally stump speeches and events across the state for Brad Schimel, for Susan Crawford. There's a lot of energy. And like, I thought people would be like, they throw their hands up, they're done with thinking about politics. I'd much rather watch The Bachelor or like go outside and do something, touch grass, instead of like being engaged in this process. But I think there is such a visceral effect that is taking place from the national level down to the local level. And I think like some of these things that are happening, like Doge and, cutting federal aid and like some of these programs that people rely on, it's like you're watching people be like, you think we're going to take this lying down? You can forget about it. Like, I was planning on resting and watching The Bachelor or White Lotus, and maybe we'll save some time to go do that. But now it's like, it's time to be active and think local and be engaged in community. And I just think that you're seeing that across the spectrum right now. And I think people are really voicing the fact that they are not asleep at the wheel right now. And so I thought people would be tired. They got that dog in them and they want to keep going. So, I mean, I think it's strong for our democracy. And my hope is that people really will turn out and have their voices heard come April 1st.
Hope y'all listening got the dog in you and you're going to go vote.
Woof, woof.
Woof, woof. Nick, before we let you go, what will you and the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign be looking for as the results for the election roll in?
We are very heavy in studying the numbers and trying to get a better sense of just the gross amount of money. And so I would say it will be interesting to watch the dust finally settle and be able to see what the money was able to really accomplish when this election is in the rear view, and be able to take those stories, those voter stories and the impacts and the things that they really care about, and be able to build that, harness it, and like channel it into some real substantive reform for our state. Because I just think that where we're at now, I think everyone would argue and say, doesn't matter what party they're a part of, they feel like the system's broken. or the system doesn't work for them necessarily, and why, you get to see such populism message that well, the elites have forgotten about us, and it's on everyday working class people to be able to pick themselves up and unify to deliver results, because the wealthiest amongst us and the power players, they don't care about us. And I think that this race is going to be very interesting to decide whether or not money really does influence races, or do the people have a different message? And I just think that now is the time. Everybody, doesn't matter how this race goes, biggest thing is that you guys need to be up and voting and participate in this, and don't sit there and complain if you didn't go and vote. You need to be a part of this process. It's our civic duty, and it's one that it's a privilege to be able to do this. It's also a right, but we're all in this together, and I'm just hopeful that when we land, it will be full voter turnout. We get to find out all this money, and we get to have some real conversations about trying to reform the system.
Well, Nick, we appreciate you making the time for us today. It's a really important topic, and man, you said it. Use your right to vote, y'all. Thanks, Nick.
Hey, thank you, Bianca.
That's Nick Ramos, Executive Director of Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, talking with us about this election cycle's record spending and what it means for voters. As a reminder for Election Day tomorrow, get out and vote. To find details about your polling place, voter registration, or what's going to be on your ballot, head to myvote.wi.gov. And huge recommendation, go back and look through our feed for our recent episodes covering our local and state elections. Also, be sure to listen to this Wednesday's episode for election results. We've got you covered there too. That's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with the person in your life who gets passionate about election season? All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, go vote!